Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back in another video today, and there is breaking news in the NBA. As there's been a blockbuster trade in the NBA between a three-team deal with the Washington Wizards, the Boston Celtics, and the Memphis Grizzlies. After everything that has happened tonight, back at 10 o'clock, you saw the trade between the Boston Celtics, Los Angeles Clippers, and Washington Wizards three-team deal that was, everything was pretty much, it was pretty much a done deal. It just wasn't finalized yet. It looked like the three sides were agreeing on agreeing terms about the deal until the Clippers started to worry about Malcolm Brogdon and his injury status. In a deal that would send Malcolm Brogdon to the LA Clippers, and then would also send Danilo Gallinari, Marcus Morris Sr., Amir Coffey, the 30th overall pick, and then also, of course, Kristaps Porzingis to the Boston Celtics. But the three sides walked away from that deal. But the Wizards and Celtics still wanted to get a deal done to send Kristaps Porzingis to the Boston Celtics. And Kristaps Porzingis' deadline to opt in or opt out of his player option his deadline was 12 o'clock Eastern time, and they needed to get that done. And they could have either done one or two things. They could have done one of two things. They could have either done a deal between the two sides or add in a third team. And that's where the Memphis Grizzlies jumped into the trade. And Memphis wanted Boston's guard Marcus Smart, and who was involved in this deal, and they got him. And let's go over the full trade details. So, of course, Kristaps Porzingis is heading to the Boston Celtics, but what is different from the previous deal is Boston is also getting 2 first-round picks in this deal due to giving up Marcus Smart in this trade. They get the 25th overall pick in tomorrow's draft. That is the Grizzlies' first-round pick in tomorrow's draft. And then they get a 2024 first-round pick from the Memphis Grizzlies that belongs to the Golden State Warriors. And that pick is top 4 protected. Although I don't want to guarantee something, but I can pretty much tell you Golden State will not be in the top 4 of the draft next year. Golden State will not even be in the lottery next year. So they get a first-round pick that belongs to Golden State. And then they also get the 25th overall pick with Kristaps Porzingis. And then Marcus Smart is going to the Memphis Grizzlies. It's just Marcus Smart going to the Grizzlies. Memphis is getting nothing else in this deal. And then Washington gets 3 players and 1 pick. Yeah, 1 pick. So Washington gets Tyus Jones, Danilo Gallinari, and Mike Muscala, center for the Boston Celtics, and the 35th overall pick. In my opinion, this deal for Washington is way better than the previous. I think everybody could agree to this fact. This was a way better deal for Washington than the previous one. Washington getting Marcus Morris Sr., Amir Coffey, and Danilo Gallinari in the 30th overall pick was just horrible for Washington. I don't know if I would consider this a good deal for Washington, but it is 100 times better than the previous deal. They get Mike Muscala, who I know he only has 1 year left on his contract, a really solid center, a really good shooting center as well. I think he'll be great for off the bench for the Wizards. They also, if they keep him, they get Tyus Jones, who is the best backup point guard in the NBA for sure. Had a great year with the Memphis Grizzlies this year, and will be great for the Washington Wizards. I would guess as their starter, but who knows? So Tyus Jones, if he stays with the Wizards, which I don't expect them to move him, he will be great for them. Now, Danilo Gallinari, I don't expect anything from that. I really do expect him to be released or bought out, so there's nothing really to tell for the Gallinari. But I think getting Muscala and Tyus Jones is way better than getting Marcus Morris Sr., Amir Coffey, and Danilo Gallinari, because nothing's going to happen with Gallinari. I mean, you're getting Gallinari either way. And I like Amir Coffey. He's a nice young player, but still getting Tyus Jones and and getting Tyus Jones and Mike Muscala is way better. And you don't have to deal with Marcus Morris's crappy contract because you're already dealing with a bunch of other crap contracts like Chris Paul. So, I mean, this deal for Washington is way better than the one before. But that's enough talking about Washington because I want to stick on Boston and Memphis in this trade because they are the main ones in this trade. Boston's getting Kristaps Porzingis, but of the cost of Marcus Smart. That is the huge thing. They have to give up Marcus Smart in order to get Porzingis. Was that worth it for the Boston Celtics in this trade? We knew they were gonna try to move one of Malcolm Brogdon, Marcus Smart, or Derek White, and eventually the odd man out ended up being Marcus Smart. But they also got 2 first-round picks for Marcus Smart with Porzingis. That's why I don't feel like this was necessarily a bad trade for the Celtics. It was horrible to give up Marcus Smart because he's the heart and soul of their team. He does everything for them not everything offensively. He does everything for them defensively, brings the energy for the Celtics. Also was great for them offensively in the playoffs. In the regular season, averaged about 11 points per game. But you're getting 2 first-round picks from and you're also getting Porzingis to be the third star alongside Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. He's going to be a hell of a player for the Celtics. He shot 38% from 3 this season. He's 7 foot. He's a hell of a rim protector. I mean, he did not get acknowledgement of the season he had this year. The only reason we're not talking about the type of season Kristaps Porzingis had this season is because the Wizards, he was playing on a horrible team. He averaged 21 points and 7 rebounds per game on a team, shooting 38% as a 7-footer and having an unbelievable season. I don't know for sure. I don't know how many blocks per game he had, but the rim protecting he brought for the Wizards last year, it was just unbelievable. He had some good years with New York, had a solid year or two with Boston, but honestly, I feel like last year was Kristaps Porzingis' best year of his career, and you add in the Porzingis with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I think that Celtics team is going to be really good next season. I think they got to figure out who's going to be the starting point guard. Is Brogdon going to be the starting point guard for Boston now? Or are they going to bring someone else in? And I don't think that Boston can't afford to bring in a big free agent. Are they going to maybe trade for a point guard? Is Brogdon, after winning the 6th Man of the Year award last season, going to be the starting point guard this year? Are you going to go ahead and put Derek White at the starting point guard? Because if you put Derek White at the starting point guard, who's going to be the starting shooting guard? Because I would think Derek White would be the starting shooting... Oh, wait, never mind. Because I think Jaylen Brown's going to go back to the shooting guard position. Jaylen Brown will go back to the shooting guard position this year because Jaylen Brown's kind of been playing the small forward, and then Tatum's been playing the power forward, and then Robert Williams was coming off the bench, and Horford was starting at center. But I think now for Boston, they're going to lean towards a lineup as either one of Derek White or Malcolm Brogdon at the starting point guard for them. I think it'll probably be a point guard competition between the two of them. Then at shooting guard, Jaylen Brown, small forward, Jason Tatum, power forward, Kristaps Porzingis, and then center, Robert Williams. How about Robert Williams and Kristaps Porzingis being in the same lineup? I mean, that didn't even come through my mind before I started to go through the Celtics lineup. I mean, anybody who's playing the Celtics and Porzingis and Robert Williams are on the court together, how are you going to score in the paint against those two? I mean, it's going to be hard to score in the paint against Porzingis and Robert Williams. I mean, having those two guys, defensively together on the court, it's going to be hard. It's going to be Boston's defense with Robert Williams and Porzingis together. It's going to be scary. But I mean, I love the trade for Boston. It sucks that they have to get rid of Marcus Smart, but they're getting 2 first-round picks with Porzingis, and I think it kind of sucks that they have to give up Mike Muscala as well. Although, I mean, I think Horford's going to be their backup center next year now. I expect Horford to come off the bench now for Boston because I don't think Robert Williams will come off the bench. I don't think Horford and Porzingis doesn't make sense now. Robert Williams and Porzingis does because defensively, that's genius. So, it sucks that Boston had to get rid of Marcus Smart, but I still think this is still a good deal for Boston. And I mean, who knows? In Memphis wanted Marcus Smart, and now it's time to get to Memphis. This is a hell of a deal for Memphis. They get a starting point guard while Ja is on his 25-game suspension, which is should have been suspended for longer. We're not going to get into that, though. That's all I'm going to say about Ja and his suspension. But you're going to need a starting point guard for Ja for the first 25 games. Not only that, you need a defensive Dillon Brooks replacement. You know, Dillon Brooks, people talk crap about him, but he did a lot defensively for that Memphis Grizzlies team. And guess who's better defensively than Dillon Brooks? Marcus Smart. He's going to bring the energy to that Memphis Grizzlies team, and it's exactly what they need. I think adding in Marcus Smart's going to be great for the Memphis Grizzlies next season. It sucks that they have to get rid of Tyus Jones, but multiple teams were interested in Tyus Jones. Multiple teams were contacting the Grizzlies about Tyus Jones. He was also an expiring contract. There was going to be a great chance Tyus Jones was going to leave the Memphis Grizzlies next season, because if you're looking at next season, next free agency, for if let's just say the Grizzlies were to have kept Tyus Jones on the roster, he's still going to be coming off the bench. He's still going to be the best backup point guard in the league, and ultimately he's going to go into his free agency season. Someone's going to want to bring him in as a starting point guard, and Tyus Jones is not going to return to the Memphis Grizzlies. And I didn't see any way that Memphis would have been able to re-sign Tyus Jones next offseason. So it sucked that they had to get rid of Tyus Jones, but I think this was the right move. He's an expiring contract that clearly I don't think was going to return to Memphis next free agency. You probably would have had to overpay for him because someone would have brought him in to be the starting point guard, which he would not have been in Memphis. Now, Marcus Smart on the other end, while he'll play the starting point guard for the first 25 games of the season, once Ja comes back from suspension, you can move him back at the 2, which he has played a little bit in the past before for the Boston Celtics. I love this deal. I really do. I love this deal for Boston and Memphis. I don't even hate it for Washington either. I mean, think about this. For Washington, they're getting Tyus Jones, Danilo Gallinari, Mike Muscala, and pick 35 for a guy who could have just opted out of his $36.9 million option, and you could have got nothing for him. So at least you got something. You got the best backup point guard in the NBA, pick 35. Mike Muscala, really solid backup big man, a good three-point shooter as well, and Danilo Gallinari, who's going to get bought out or released. Washington did decent for a guy who could have just opted out and got nothing for him. So, I mean, when you think about it like that, it sounds like a pretty good deal for Washington. But I like this deal for everybody. But the big winner, even though Memphis did really well with getting Marcus Smart onto this Grizzlies roster, I still think the big winner is the Boston Celtics. They're getting Porzingis. You pair him with Jaylen Brown. And Jason Tatum offensively. You pair him with Robert Williams defensively, and you just put him on that Celtics roster. Celtics are going to be pretty damn good next season. You guys have your thoughts on the 3-team trade? I wouldn't be surprised if I think this is it. I think that we saw some details that weren't announced. Like I'm talking about the with the Bradley Beal and the Bradley Beal trade that sent him to Phoenix. We saw some details that did not come out like right away. There was like 2 players, Jordan Goodwin and Isaiah Todd, who were sent to Phoenix, but it wasn't announced to the last day. I was about to say I thought there would maybe be more stuff to happen in this trade, but I think everything is over in this trade. I don't think there's any more details in this trade. So recap the trade real quick. Porzingis to Boston with a 2024 first-round pick that belongs to Golden State. Top 4 protected. Pick 25 in tomorrow's draft. Marcus Smart to Memphis. Tyus Jones, Danilo Gallinari, Mike Muscala, and pick 35 to the Washington Wizards. You guys have your thoughts on the 3-team trade. You guys have your thoughts, and peace out.